The diplomatic station Nexus Prime had never witnessed such terror. Commander Zeftar of the Altarian Council watched in horror as the creature, a massive writhing mass of shadow and teeth, materialized in the central assembly hall. Its roar shattered the crystalline walls, sending fragments raining down on the cowering delegates from 17 different species. "Emergency protocols," Zeftar barked into his comm unit, his forearms trembling as he tried to coordinate an evacuation. "All security forces to the assembly hall immediately." The beast stood 12 feet tall, its form constantly shifting between solid matter and something that seemed to bend light itself around its edges. Rows of phosphorescent teeth lined what might have been its mouth, and dozens of eyes, if they were eyes, blinked in chaotic patterns across its hide. When it moved, reality seemed to blur at its edges. The Cronin ambassador, despite his species' legendary courage, backed against the far wall, his chitinous exoskeleton clicking in distress. "By the 7 moons," he whispered, "what manner of abomination is this?" High Priestess Yilan of the Ethereal Collective, whose people were known for their mastery over dimensional energies, attempted to weave a containment spell. The creature's attention snapped to her, and its roar intensified, causing her to stumble backward, her luminous form flickering with pain. "It's resistant to psychic interference," she gasped. I cannot touch its mind. It's as if it exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously." The security forces arrived, elite warriors from half a dozen species, equipped with the most advanced weaponry in the galaxy. Energy beams struck the creature, only to be absorbed into its writhing mass. Kinetic projectiles passed through it as if it were mere shadow. Sonic weapons caused it to shift uncomfortably, but inflicted no real damage. "Nothing's working," Captain Rexhigh of the Draconian Guard shouted over the din. "It's like trying to fight smoke." The creature's roars grew more violent, more desperate. With each passing moment, its form seemed to become more unstable, more chaotic. Cracks appeared in the station's hull as its dimensional presence stressed the very fabric of space-time around them. Ambassador Zara Chen, the sole human representative at the diplomatic gathering, had been quietly observing from the corner where she'd taken shelter. Her species was relatively new to the galactic community, barely 2 centuries since first contact, and many still viewed humans as primitive curiosities rather than equals. But as Zara watched the creature's behavior, something clicked in her mind. The chaotic movements, the desperate roaring, the way it recoiled from direct contact. This wasn't the behavior of a monster seeking destruction. "Stop firing," she called out, her voice barely audible over the chaos. "Ambassador Chen," Zeftar shouted back, "this is not the time for—" "I said stop." Her command carried such authority that even the battle-hardened warriors hesitated. Zara stepped forward, her hands raised peacefully, the creature's attention immediately fixed on her, its multiple eyes converging into what seemed like a single, focused gaze. The roaring diminished slightly, though the air around them still hummed with otherworldly energy. "I know what you are," she said softly, her voice steady despite the terror that every instinct screamed at her to feel. "You're not a monster at all, are you?" The creature's form rippled, and for a moment, something almost resembling confusion crossed its alien features. Zara took another step closer, ignoring the horrified gasps from the other delegates. Her species had always been different. Where others saw chaos, humans often saw patterns. Where others saw monsters, humans sometimes saw pain. "You're lost," she continued, her voice growing gentler. "Displaced. You don't belong in our dimension, do you? The barriers between realities are thin here at the station, and you fell through." The roaring reduced to what almost sounded like whimpering. The creature's form began to stabilize slightly, though it still flickered between dimensions. "You're scared," Zara realized, taking yet another step forward. "Everyone's been attacking you, but you're just trying to find your way home." She stopped just outside what she judged to be the creature's immediate reach and did something that made every other being in the room question her sanity. She knelt down and extended her hand. "I'm going to call you Kethmori," she whispered, the words coming from somewhere deep in her mind as if the name had always been there waiting. In the old Earth languages it means wanderer between worlds. Is that what you are, Kethmori? The moment the name passed her lips, the creature went completely still. The chaotic energy that had been radiating from it ceased, and for the first time since its arrival, the station stopped shaking. The being that had been a terror beyond description slowly, carefully, reached out with what might have been a limb and gently touched Zara's outstretched hand. Kethmori, it repeated, and though the word came from a throat not designed for speech, the gratitude in it was unmistakable. Behind them, the assembled delegates watched in stunned silence as the human ambassador, the representative of one of the galaxy's youngest species, accomplished what all their advanced technology and combined centuries of wisdom could not. How? High Priestess Yelan whispered. How did you know? Zara smiled softly, never taking her eyes off the creature as it began to shimmer, preparing to phase back to its home dimension. My species has always lived alongside our monsters, she said. We learned long ago that sometimes the scariest things are just lost souls looking for understanding. As Kethmori faded from their reality, its form dissolving back into the spaces between dimensions, the last thing they heard was something that sounded remarkably like "thank you" in a dozen different languages. Commander Zeftar slowly approached Ambassador Chen, his forearms no longer trembling. Your species, he said quietly, continues to surprise us. Zara stood brushing dust from her diplomatic robes. We've had practice, she replied simply. After all, we used to be the monsters that others feared. We learned that everyone, even the scariest among us, just wants to be known by name. The station's emergency lights flickered back to normal, and slowly, carefully, the galaxy's representatives began to understand that perhaps humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their tenacity. It was their ability to see the being behind the monster, and to offer compassion where others would offer only fear.